Hello everyone, Coffee Grump here. Today we're going to go over the Philips series machine. This one happens to be a 3241. They have a 1200, a 2200, a 3200, 4500, and 5400 series. For all intents purposes, they do manage to look very similar. Some don't have a milk carafe, some have a steam wand, and some do a little bit more extra functions. Some actually have a display screen for the fancy ones. But we're going to talk about all the problems that go along with this machine and how to understand your machine better. Okay, before we get started, just want to talk about the machine a little bit. It's always critical to always maintain your milk carafe and make sure it's clean. I don't like putting these things in the dishwasher, even though it might say so. Just a hand wash, and you can use the machine's cleaning cycle as well to get through. But keep these clean, and you shouldn't have a problem for a very long time. But these are accessible to purchase, and they're not too terribly expensive. So we'll set that guy aside. Just on the front display here, you'll notice the Aqua Clean is blue. That means the filter in the machine is set to max, and it's going to work its way down to being full usage. If your light was orange and it was blinking, that's your machine telling you that you won't need your filter changed. If your Calc Clean comes on, that's an indication that your machine is asking for a descale. And the machine counts all that for you, counts how much water goes through the machine. That also includes the hot water, the steam, and the coffees, just so you know. Other than that, we're just going to power down, and we'll start the disassembly. So here we go. What I like to do is I like to get some of the extra stuff off the machine. The drip tray, it's always going to have some water in it. Every time you brew espresso, it's under pressure, so it has to release that water, and it goes into the drip tray. Your pucks are in there for your garbage, your waste. Just going to set this aside. Your water tank, I'm going to take this guy out. There we go, nice and simple. This is pretty much very similar to all the series of Philips all the way through. The big differences are the selections, of course. One has a little bit of a screen, and whether it's a steam wand or you can actually use the milk carafe. So I'm also going to come over here. We open the door and you have your brewer inside. One thing I'd like to point out is you do have to maintain your brewer. You need to pull it out about once a week and clean it under warm water. Again, not a dishwasher product. Just rinse it under warm water, get rid of all the excess grinds and things that collect over time, and pat dry. There is a time where you need to lubricate the rails in there. That's the movement of the brewer going up and down, and you'll have to put some lubricant in there. Philips sells the lubricant. You can use any food grade lubricant. Vegetable oil is not an appropriate lubricant, so just keep that in mind. And this guy here, your O-ring, before I move on to that, I would lubricate the rails at least once a month. That keeps everything functioning. These brewers are very forgiving in their workhorses, but you do need to take care of them. Your O-ring, if you see it discolored or actually looks like it's shrinking, you can change that, and those are fairly inexpensive. They're under $10 Canadian or US, so no problem. You won't need to change that for like 6 months to a year. They work for a while, and that's it. You really don't want to dismantle anything if you're not into the repair part, but we're going to come back to this brewer, and we'll do that. We'll do a little bit of a dismantle. I'll show you what it's all about. So I'm just going to set that aside. And inside the machine, Just want to point out, Philips does a good job. They will put a barcode so you can watch videos or have the manual for cleaning purposes, and you can just zap that and it'll be right on your phone, or transfer it over to your computer. If you ever have a problem with your machine, the number that service tech needs is this. It needs the type of the machine, EP3241. And what that tells the technician is when he looks up your machine, he'll have all the right parts that you're requesting to repair your machine. So keep that in mind, always have that available. Don't just say it's a Philips machine, because there's 7 different ones in this series. So we need to know which one is your machine, and that will tell the technician or Philips exactly which machine it is. We do have a bean hopper. Take that off. I do have some beans in there, so I'm gonna vacuum that out and scrape it out, because I'm gonna have the top of the machine off. So those are all the excess. I'm gonna make sure the machine is unplugged, and then I'm gonna start some disassembly. Okay, a lot of things can go wrong with this. The 2 main culprits that I've seen on these machines is it's leaking. I'm going to show you exactly where that happens usually. And these 3 lights will light up red. This is an indication that you've got an issue. One of the major things that goes wrong with these machines is the grinder motor. They are not lasting very long. Although it's a good machine and it's going to work very well for you, I find that there's more grinder motors than usual that end up failing, and I'm not really sure the cause, but it's the motor itself that needs to be replaced. So if you have your machine on and everything's in your tray and your water tank, and you press for an espresso and it goes into error right away, that's going to be your grinder motor. So we'll look at that when we get in there, but we're going to start taking it apart. The back panel off first. I'm going to take 2 screws out of the bottom here. There we go, 2 screws. Using a Torx screwdriver. It's a Torx T10, and for the most part this is the one that's going to be utilized throughout the machine. There will be, I believe, a Torx 15, but I think we'll get into that when we get closer to the grinder motor. And I usually like to always have a pick with me. There might be another tool that I need, but I don't think it's an out of the ordinary tool. But this Torx T10 is going to be your main tool you're going to have in your hand. So there we go. So I got the 2 screws out. The back panel is just going to pull out from the bottom. And there we go. We have the 1 panel off. So what do we got? We have the tank connection. We have our pump, very accessible, which is great because, you know, pumps can last anywhere from 3 to, I've had an old pump last up to 18, 19 years. But if you have flow issues and it's over 3 years, it could definitely be your pump. Why the big range of failure is because if you use oily beans, it's harder to get the water through to saturate the coffee. If you hammer your machine 10 to 20 times a day, it's going to lengthen the lifetime of the pump, and they just wear out, depending on water condition as well. Where you are, that could affect the pump as well. So we also have a bit of access to the boiler here. We have 2 TCOs on there. One's for coffee, one's for steam. They work at different temperatures, so you need 2 for different levels. You also have access to your power board here. I haven't had too many issues with the power boards. That's great. But usually what I've seen in other machines is a fuse will go, or some little resistor will pop on the board. You would have to replace the board for that. There are some connections that are connected to the board permanently, so you just have to be aware of that. And there's some connectors that you can pull out and take the component away from the machine. So we'll probably come across that as we get into the more of the disassembly. If you like what you see so far, you can purchase the full disassembly and reassembly. We're going to go over everything, all the things that can go wrong with the machine and why. And if you like what you see so far, it could be worth $15.